California's Great America recently got onto the chopping block. Cedar Fair has sold the land of the park to a real estate company, and the park will close within the next 11 years. As misfortunate as this situation is, it gives us an opportunity for coasters to be moved and relocated to other parks. In today's video, we will go over each coaster at California's Great America, and analyze and project where each coaster will end up in the Cedar Fair chain. Take in mind that in 10 years, lineups change quickly, and parks may add more roller coasters, so our projections are made as of 2022 and may not hold accurate in 2030. Before we start that video, I would really appreciate it if you like and subscribe. It means a lot more than you think and will help a small channel like us grow. Going from big to small, we have Lucy's Krabby Cabbies. This is an E&F miler kiddie coaster. These things are dirt cheap and would be almost pocket change for Cedar Fair to install one in all of their parks. This coaster is not in major desire to be located, but despite that, there are still several valid options. There are two parks that come immediately to mind, Cedar Point and Knott's Berry Farm. These are the two revenue generators for Cedar Fair. Both of these massive parks only house one kiddie coaster, making them both valid options. However, Cedar Point has only one true family coaster and has a complete focus on thrill and extreme coasters. Increasing the lineup for younger children should be a priority at Cedar Point, thus making it a better selection for this park, and is why I think Lucy's Krabby Cabbies will end up at Cedar Point. Increasing the intensity a bit, we have Woodstock Express. Now in all honesty, I think this is going to be scrapped. There's not a strong need from any park to inherit this coaster. Cedar Point already has a clone of this, and their need for a family coaster is the highest, so that puts them off the list. Most other parks would opt for a modernized steel family coaster rather than inheriting this high maintenance Intamin. If I had to relocate it at a park, I would put it at Dorney just because it provides us a nice bridge coaster from their version of Woodstock Express to their Wild Mouse. However, just because this coaster is becoming outdated, it will ultimately be scrapped. Increasing the intensity once more, we have Psycho Mouse, an aerodynamics Wild Mouse. For the same reason as Lucy's Krabby Cabbies, I could see this going to Cedar Point to deepen their coaster lineup for children. However, I think there's a better park for this to go to, that being Worlds of Fun. Worlds of Fun is one of the few Cedar Fair parks that do not have a Wild Mouse or anything close to it. They do have an intermediate coaster in Spinning Dragons, but the addition of Psycho Mouse can help bridge the gap for young kids trying to work their way up to Patriot and Prowler. Additionally, Worlds of Fun is in a major drought and has not had a coaster installation in 13 years. This would be a perfect addition and help the lineup at Worlds of Fun. Next up is our first real thrill coaster, Grizzly. Grizzly is an old woody that's known for being rough and forceless. This already does not help its case. Additionally, there is very little to no marketing potential, and the cost of a relocation may not even pay off its stay. Wooden coasters are much harder to relocate, with moving a lot of supports and track. This would be costly and will not lead to much success later down the road. This combined with an already long service life does not help its case at all. Grizzly will be over 40 years old when California's Great America is sold, which is yet another reason this is hitting the scrapyard. I really do not see it being in any other park, but if I had to choose, it would be Carowinds. An RMC hurler is probable in the next 10 years, and they would need another extreme roading coaster to replace this. However, this is completely unrealistic. I would be very surprised if I even saw this road relocated to any park, but because of this, I can say with a lot of confidence, Grizzly is going away for good. Next up is Demon. This is an old aero looper. It will be over 40 years old when California's Great America is sold, definitely reaching the end of its service life. Not only this, but aero loopers are a huge pain in the butt to move. Old aero loopers were welded in on site, meaning there's no nuts and bolts holding the track together. That means to relocate the coaster, you would have to cut the track and re-weld it. This is expensive and be quite risky as mistakes are easily made. If I had to put it in a park, I think it would be a good fit for Worlds of Fun, because a lot of Cedar Fair parks already have aero loopers already, and the ones that do not are just too good to have them. For example, Knott's Berry Farm is one of the parks that does not have an aero looper, but it would make absolutely zero sense for them to add one in it. This is pretty much the same situation across the board, except for Worlds of Fun. This park does not have an aero looper or a major reputation. Not only this, but this park is in a coaster installment drought, which increases its chances of ending up here. However, just due to the cost of the relocation, Demon the aero looper will have the same fate as Grizzly and will be taking a nice trip to the scrapyard. Next up is the B&M Invert Flight Deck. Now this was a pretty easy decision. Most Cedar Fair parks have some sort of inverted coaster, whether that be an SLC or a B&M. There are two that do not follow this exception, Valleyfair and King's Dominion, and between those two there's a more likely option. With the past of hefty investments and the loss of Volcano, King's Dominion is going to have a significant roller coaster to replace it. This eliminates them from contention of getting Flight Deck. I would say Michigan's Adventure would get Flight Deck, but they already have Thunderhawk and the most they're going to get is a bucket of paint, so that leaves Valleyfair. They only have an Intamin Impulse, and although that is inverted, it does not compare to the level of a B&M. Valleyfair is a great contender, and I predict Flight Deck will end up here. Next up is Patriot. Recently, Cedar Fair made a small investment to revitalize and change Patriot from a stand-up to a floorless coaster. This helps its case. Although I still do not see this ride making it out of Great America. The coaster at Patriot is not very marketable whatsoever. There are so many floorless coasters and they are much better than this one. With only having 2 inversions and less than 2,000 feet of track, I do not see this one resonating with the general public. This greatly minimizes the chances of a relocation. If one park did get Patriot, it would be Valley Fair. There's a lack of inversions at this park, and Patriot having 2 of them can help add to this problem. However, this has a high possibility of not happening because it does not seem cost efficient. This with Patriot reaching the end of its service life at almost 40 years old pretty much eliminates the chance of this happening, period. For these reasons, I predict Patriot will be ultimately scrapped. RailBlazer is the only coaster by Rocky Mountain Construction at this park. This Raptor prototype is widely popular amongst enthusiasts and the general public. This being a single rail coaster looks easy to relocate. Additionally, it is relatively new, having its 4th operating season this year. This coaster is a serious speed machine with ejector airtime and inversions mixed in. I would be surprised if this does not get relocated. There are a few contenders for this park. Canada's Wonderland is along the many. This park is in need for ejector airtime and RailBlazer provides just that. Additionally, Canada's Wonderland is 100% developed and could use an installment that does not require too much space. That being said, this is less likely because Canada's Wonderland only gets major additions seating Leviathan, Behemoth, and Yukon Striker. The other park that is in contention is Dorney Park. Dorney will most likely lose Possess, their Intimate Impulse, in a few years. They need something that provides speed and ejector airtime, both of these RailBlazer would fulfill. They have plenty of space and this would be a small but strong addition for their park. This is why Dorney is getting the RMC single rail RailBlazer. Now for the elephant in the room, the world-renowned Elite GCI Woody on the West Coast that's better than Ghost Rider, Goldstriker. This coaster was built in 2013, so it's still relatively new. This is also in major contention of being relocated, and like RailBlazer, there's a good group of parks that would benefit from this. For one, you have Cedar Point. There's only one wooden coaster at Cedar Point, Blue Streak, and this coaster is not the most thrilling. Cedar Point can greatly benefit from a modern Woody. However, this is less likely literally due to the fact that Steel Vengeance looks like a wooden coaster to the general public. Super GP, am I right? Additionally, Cedar Point lacks the space for Goldstriker and mainly gets larger additions. After all, this is Cedar Fair's prized possession. I do not think they would settle for a relocated coaster as their newest addition. This leaves a pretty obvious answer of King's Dominion. This park needs a modern Woody to complement their collection of classic ones. Both Racer 75 and Grizzly are located here, and Goldstriker would complement this lineup. This would also be 5 years from Volcano the Blast Coaster, so King's Dominion is due for a new installment. For these reasons, Goldstriker will end up at King's Dominion. For a quick summary, Lucy's Krabby Cabbies is going to Cedar Point, Psycho Mouse is going to Worlds of Fun, Flight Deck is going to Valley Fair, RailBlazer is going to Dorney Park, and Goldstriker is going to King's Dominion. The other coasters will be ultimately scrapped. Take it on that these are predictions and none of these are guaranteed to happen. It will be interesting to watch this situation unfold in the next 10 years, and maybe, just maybe, if this channel is still a thing, hopefully it is, we'll make a follow-up video on this topic. That's all for today's video, and as always, make sure to like and subscribe. I hope to see you in the next one. Enjoy the rest of your day. Bye.